Good morning, Professor Schlecht.
Morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, good. So happy to have at least 4 participants at this moment, because Andreas Gaudes is the moderator or the technical master of the session. So welcome to the online poster session, Ruminants and Poultry, which will be streamed from a nice but nearly empty lecture hall here in the BOKU in Vienna. My name is Eva Schlecht. I'm heading the group Animal Husbandry in the Tropics and Subtropics at the Universities of Kassel and Göttingen in Germany. And I understand that all of you have sent pre-registered videos, but unfortunately they have not yet been uploaded to my computer here, so I cannot start the streaming of the first video. So I was wondering, because you are the first one, do you also have the video on your computer that we could start with your video from your screen share?
Yes, but it's in another laptop. I have to transfer it first now.
Okay, because the person who is helping me here with the technical issues just went to see where is the USB stick with the videos, and I don't want to waste too much of your time. So if you are ready to run it from your computer, then we will do that at least for the first contribution. In case people are following us on Woover, please note that I have no access to Woover during this session, so if you have a question later on to the posters in the discussion, then please just ask the question by voice. Now we see there should be the videos coming, so maybe we just wait another 2 minutes for the upload of your videos, and then we play them from our screen here.
Io che come il sistema, it's called G, system, and it's universe, like to see.
But I hope to find a man. Yes, yes. Okay, so now, why is it not called? No, but
Dear auditors, my name is Haid Artikov. Together with my co-authors, I kindly welcome you to our poster, Land.
okay, so sorry, we had to test. So now we need to share the screen. Okay, so let's start now with the first poster by Hatbay on his work in Uzbekistan. Can you see the screen? Everyone, please give me just a yes or no by voice.
Yes, we can.
Good.
Dear auditors, my name is Haid Artikov. Together with my co-authors, I kindly welcome you to our poster, Land Cover Changes Associated with the Rise of the Lake Aidarkol in North Uzbekistan. Nomadic pastoralism flourished in Uzbekistan until the 1930s, where it was replaced by Soviet-style collective farms. In early times of the collective farming, nomads still continued transhumant livestock herding across the steppe and mountains rangelands, replacing them depending on the season, allowing pastures regenerate their potential. This practice continued down to the establishment of the sedentary grazing system in 1960s. In 1969, heavy rainfall initiated large water inflow into the Chardara reservoir, causing a release of huge amounts of water which formed the Lake Aidarkol. covering large area of steppe rangelands. Subsequent changes of land cover and their effects on pastoral livelihoods have been poorly investigated. This study aims at evaluating the land use and land cover changes associated with the rise of the lake water, cropping expansion, and livestock grazing in pastoral areas of northern Uzbekistan. Study approaches to employ the historical corona and Landsat images using machine learning algorithm. A tremendous increase of the lake's water volume from 158 in 1968 to 641 square kilometers in 1987 has altered herding locations, followed by a decrease of lowland pastoral areas. Land cover change initiated by lake expansion reduced the area of lowland pastures. Unintentional relocation of livestock herding condensed the grazing radius around stationary camps. Rainfed wheat cultivation has expanded by 182% from 5,300 hectares in 1968 to 9,600 hectares in 2000, however, drastically decreased to 33 hectares in 2023. Rainfed cereal production gained importance following the post-Soviet farm restructuring, aiming at achieving independence in wheat supplies and converting lowland pastures into croplands. This has eventually stopped due to unsustainable management and climate change effects. Subsequently, those areas have been abandoned over time and eventually converted back into pastures. Low-quality pastures with bare soil and least palatable species are unable to sustain the livestock, and hence local people continue to rely on the limited high-quality pasture areas, making a substantial pressure on the remaining pastures. I'm looking forward to hear your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pai. We have a bit of time for question. So would anyone of the participants like to ask Pai a question? Just open your mic if you want to. You want to ask something? No? Okay, maybe I have a short question. Because you showed that also the area of bare land or abandoned cropland rather was increasing or is increasing. So could these increasing abandoned lands not substitute for part of the lowland pasture reduction? Or is the quality of the vegetation on these abandoned croplands not sufficient to nourish animals?
Professor, thank you for your question. And yes, the bare land was counted as a reduction of the lowland pasture because in our land use land cover maps, we have classified this bare land as a separate class. This is one class of 7 out of the 7 our classes. So it is definitely the very low value land for in terms of the livestock grazing. And of course, after some time, the bare land are becoming like a pasture land, but with a least palatable or totally unpalatable species that could not support the livestock even now.
Okay, Thank you very much for your answer to my question. Let's now move on to the next presentation by Derek Sentano. Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Noah Sentamu, and on behalf of my co-authors, I'll be presenting to you livestock disease reporting and response in pastoralist areas in northern Kenya. The aim of this study was to identify stakeholders involved in livestock disease reporting and response, their roles, and information flow among them. This study also documented methods used in livestock disease reporting and response, their strengths and challenges. The study area was Marsabit County in northern Kenya, and the study sites were within Laisamis sub-county, that's in Laisamis and Gurnit or Kor locations. Data was collected through focus group discussions, key informant and narrative interviews, and net mapping. The images on this slide were generated from our findings, where the image on the top shows the interaction among the various stakeholders in the process of livestock disease reporting and response, while the image below shows the influence in disease reporting and the power in disease response by the various stakeholders. We found that a disease report is generated or is initiated from the herders. We can see that the herders have a high influence in disease reporting. The herders then report to the animal owners when a disease is known or when it's common and endemic within the community. Pastoralists preferred to report to traditional healers who would respond through treatment using alternative veterinary practices. At community level, pastoralists would also report to agrovet owners or private animal health workers who would respond by treatment using synthetic drugs. However, for new severe disease outbreaks, pastoralists would report to community disease reporters and chiefs, who would then progress the reports to government animal health workers quickly and fast. Government animal health workers are considered to be experts who can manage any disease. When they receive this report, they prioritize the different reports of these new diseases, and then the county director of veterinary services, or the CDVS, is informed. The CDVS supervises all veterinary staffs within the county. He has a central role of engaging partners to collaborate and support in mass interventions, especially treatment and vaccinations. Partners that are usually engaged include national parastatals, NGOs, and INGOs. The methods used to report diseases included walking, use of motor vehicles and motorbikes, phones, paper-based methods, radio, and emails. Pastoralists responded to diseases using alternative veterinary practices like cauterization and bleeding. They were also able to administer synthetic drugs by themselves. Technicians carried out mass interventions like vaccinations and treatments, routine treatment of animals in smaller numbers using synthetic drugs, and also trainings and technical advice. In conclusion, the process of livestock disease reporting and response in pastoral areas is made up of an intricate network of various stakeholders, each with unique and important roles. Therefore, designing an effective disease surveillance system for pastoral areas requires utilization of all stakeholders and their roles. Lack of available resources for response calls for setting aside a contingency fund for the county veterinary department to readily respond to diseases. We also found that a lot of response happens at community level. Therefore, there would be need for capacity development of community stakeholders and also providing them with more resources for effective and faster disease response. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your very insightful poster presentation. Are there questions to the presenter? Anyone who has questions to Derek? No? No question? Then maybe I would like to know, you reported now on how the disease cases are registered and monitored and also the different treatments, but what are the most prevalent diseases in that region where you study? Maybe for the cattle, one or two most important diseases, and then also you showed a lot of camels. What's there, the main health problems?
Am I audible?
Yeah, please.
All right. Thank you very much for the question. If I got it clear, you asked for the two most prevalent diseases, at least in camels and cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in camels, a disease called hemorrhagic septicemia is quite prevalent in the study site. That's in the Rendile area and also the Borana area. Within part of our study, we prioritized the species that is hardest, that has the diseases that are hardest to manage, and camels were prioritized as the top species. So we mostly concentrated on camels. So one is hemorrhagic septicemia, and the other is caseous lymphadenitis. Then for the sites that prioritized cattle, which was I think only 2 sites, they mentioned foot and mouth disease. And then the other one was lumpy skin disease.
Okay, that was the one picture you showed, lumpy skin disease, huh? On one
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting work. Thank you very much. We have to move on to the next presentation of Kamboka Trimba. Yes, yeah.
Welcome to today's presentation. My name is Kwamboka Tirimba. On behalf of my co-authors, Professor Mizek Chaguna and Professor Regina Berna, I will present to you the current state of enteric methane emissions, as well as the mitigation strategies that have been employed in tropical grazing systems. The objective of the study was to determine the current state of methane emissions from cattle that are grazing in tropical areas, as well as the mitigation strategies that have been employed. This was a meta-analysis that included 29 peer-reviewed studies across 12 different countries. The criteria for selecting the studies was that they had to be field studies of cattle grazing in the tropics and conducted within the last 15 years. The meta-analysis employed a linear mixed effect model, which had 160 observations and 4 fixed effects, which was climate, animal types, pasture diets, and management systems, 1 random effect, which was the breed, and 2 covariates, which was the temperature and the rainfall. To group the data, 4 tropical climatic zones were used based on the Köppen-Geiger climatic systems. The tropical climates included the arid climates, oceanic, tropical, and subtropical climates. In Figure 1, we can see that the enteric methane emissions decreased over the years, with a sharp increase between 2019 and 2021. In Figure 2, we can see that the variables had a significant effect on methane emissions, with climate and animal types showing the highest significant effect. Figure 3 shows that including legume pastures into a grass pasture system reduced methane emissions as compared to only having grass pastures within a diet. In Figure 4, we see that the semi-intensive systems also had less emissions as compared to the intensive systems. The semi-intense systems were rotational grazing with free grazing systems, while the intensive were only paddock systems or paddock rotational systems. In conclusion, adopting high-quality pastures and improving the grazing management systems was effective in reducing methane emissions over the years. As climate shows a significant effect on methane emissions, it is important to consider specific parameters of climate before introducing any methane mitigation strategies into a region. These parameters include the average temperature, the precipitation of an area, as well as the specific climate of an area. Thank you so much for your time. I'd appreciate any questions.
Yes, thank you for your very comprehensive poster. So again, here there's scope for questions. Who would like to ask something? Yeah, Rafael?
And thanks for the nice presentation. I would like to know your opinion. How would you think to improve the pasture management, or maybe in a community level, in the time of growing of population as well as the livestock numbers?
Thanks for your question. For me, I think it's best to add legume pastures in the diet as they are also easily available. That's also what I noticed in the study, that most of the tropical systems actually had a lot of legume crop residue. They would plant peas or beans and throw away the leaves. But if you include them in the feed, they also did improve productivity of the cattle and were effective in reducing the methane emission. So that would also help, as well as management with maybe adding manure fertilizer to the grazing land. Because yes, like you said, population is increasing, so we don't have more space. But if you can improve the grazing land that you have, then that would be effective in reducing emissions and increasing the productivity of the cattle. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I have also maybe one question, very short. You showed that methane emissions over time, and I guess that was across all of your studies, this diagram, and there you show a very big zigzag between 2019 and 2022 or so. Can you explain this drop first and then this steep increase? Was this due to one or two studies that were extremely sort of extensive with high methane emission?
Thank you again for your question. Yes, I think it could have been a few studies at that time that were actually doing intensive studies. Another reason was also due to the COVID-19 pandemic, because I noticed the studies that were done at the time, they also were looking at grazing lands where they were restricted to move around. So we noticed that because of the restrictions, then the cattle was not getting proper feed, and the grazers could also not access the feeds, or if they were using supplements, if they were even purchasing sometimes some grass or seedlings from other places, they couldn't purchase them anymore because the circuit for selling was broken. The drop that we saw before the 2019 was because there was an increase in improving the pastures. So most grazing systems were now including legumes, for including supplements and not just grazing with grasses. And others started doing paddock systems or just better management like fertilizers, so that the feed was actually better. And then there was a slight decrease. There was like a continuous decrease before the pandemic hit. Thank
Okay,
you.
interesting. Thank you very much. So we now move on to the next presentation by Daniela on the effects of different levels of larva meal inclusion in chicken diet. So we are changing the species now from ruminants. We move to chicken. Daniela, can you please enlighten us what is means? What do you mean? Yeah, this one. Okay.
Good morning, dear audience. My name is Daniela Gomani, one of the authors of the poster entitled Effect of Different Levels of Tenero Monitor Larva Meal Inclusion on Chicken Meat Quality. The research was based on the introduction of new ingredients in livestock diets, especially in the poultry area. One of the ingredients that have been widely investigated is insect meal, such as the Tenero Monitor larva. That is why the objective of our study was to evaluate the meat quality of chickens fed with a conventional diet that include soybean meal as the main protein source, compared to chickens fed with 5, 10, and 15% inclusion of Tenero Monitor larva. We used 8 chickens per treatment, and after slaughter, only the rest were obtained as samples, and they were frozen at -18 degrees Celsius until the physicochemical and sensory analysis, and we made additionally a nutritional analysis. In the results, we see that in sensory analysis, 94 panelists aged between 18 to 50 years old who were regular consumers of chicken meat and who did not have any diseases that could affect their sensory perception were evaluated. In this way, 6 characteristics were evaluated: appearance, juiciness, smell, taste, softness, and texture. As we can see in the graph, on average, there were no negative responses from the judges towards any treatment, since the scores were between 4 to 5, which were neutral scores. Later, in the physicochemical analysis, we observed that the inclusion of the larva fluid did not influence the pH, acidity, water activity, and water retention capacity. Finally, in the nutritional analysis, it was found that the meat of chickens fed with inclusion of mealworm larvae has numerically higher amounts of protein than the meat of chickens fed with a conventional diet. It is concluded that the inclusion of this fluoride does not negatively influence the meat quality of the chicken. However, we need to pay special attention on the consumer's opinion when we include a higher percentage of TMM inclusion. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm looking for your questions.
Thank you for this contribution, very interesting. So then here we have time for questions. Who would like to ask a question on the chicken feeding with insect larvae? I don't see anyone. I would have a question concerning the, was there someone?
Yes.
Question on the costs. Did you also look at the costs? What is it? Yeah, the difference in costs when you replace soybean with the insect larva. Is it cheaper? Is it the same? Is it more expensive to feed the chicken to slaughter weight or not? I think, okay, our speaker is not present, so it was just present, she was present in a small video, but not here, so sorry.
Hello,
Oh,
can you
yes.
hear me? Sorry.
Okay, please, then, did you understand my question?
Yes. it definitely is more economical, it's cheaper. And the benefits of this is that we use a little space to, to breed the insects, and a part of that we use the substrate that we use to feed them is cheaper too. So in cost is really more economical. Apart from that, the results, we see that the chicken has the same characteristics, and it could be a lot more beneficial, right?
Okay, there was a bit of a problem, I think, with the transmission, but I think we got the main messages from your response. So thank you very much. And let's now move to again the substitution of soybean, this time with leaf meal from moringa on egg production of chicken. This is number 6. Yeah.
Dear audience, my name is Kubru Bariso. With my advisors, I would like to say welcome to my poster presentation entitled Substitution of soybean meal with Moringa Noctella leaf meal positively influencing feed consumption and egg production. Introduction. Poultry farming is eco-friendly, and poultry meat and eggs are a good source of high-quality protein for human nutrition in developing nations. One of limiting factors in poultry nutrition in the tropics is high cost of protein source. So, searching for low-cost plant-based protein source is justifiable. Moringa noctella is a multi-purpose tree endemic to southern Ethiopia and northern Kenya. It has been reported to contain high crude protein, which ranges from 29 to 36% with excellent essential amino acid profile. Therefore, the objective of this study to evaluate efficiency of Moringa noctella leaf meal as a substitute of soybean meal on feed consumption and egg production. Methodology. A date was formulated to contain Moringa noctella leaf at a rate of 0, 3, 8, and 30% by replacing soybean meal. 40 Lehman tradition hens were distributed to each date replicated 4 times with 10 hens each. Experiment was conducted from 20 to 28 weeks of hen's age. Result, as indicated in table here, hen-housed egg production, average egg weight, and total egg mass were highest at 8% substitution level of Moringa noctella leaf, and total feed intake was highest at 30% substitution level of Moringa noctella leaf. The graph indicates that daily egg mass was highest at 8% substitution level of Moringa noctella leaf, and daily feed intake was highest at 30% substitution level of Moringa noctella leaf. Similarly, feed conversion ratio was highest at 30% substitution level of Moringa noctella leaf. This shows nutrient utilization efficiency was low. Based on this result, we conclude that substitution of soybean meal with 8% Moringa noctella leaf enhanced hen-housed egg yield, egg weight, and egg mass. Feed conversion ratio was highest at 30% substitution level, suggested low efficiency of nutrient utilization. Replacement of soybean meal with 8% Moringa noctella leaf meal appeared to be the optimal level for this study. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was good, very interesting. So when we look at your experiment substituting soybean with moringa leaves, is there anyone who would like to ask a question? Maybe the predecessor speaker, the previous speaker, because you use different substitutes, but same basic ingredients. No. So maybe what is interesting to me is that this 8% inclusion level of moringa really yielded so good results, and even a bit better than the control. So what makes the moringa leaves even better quality probably than the soybean when you look at your results? Do you have an idea? Is it just the protein, or is it also other nutrients contained in the moringa leaves that are probably not in that contained in that concentration in the soybean? Kibu? Did you get my question, Kibu?
I didn't get. Please repeat.
Yeah, okay. I was asking because the replacement of the soybean with 8% moringa gave even better results than the control. So is it just the protein substitution, or are there some elements in the moringa leaves that make this a better ingredient, at least partly better than the soybean?
Yes, as indicated in methodology, we have substituted the part of soybean, 3%, 8%, and 30% of soybean meal was substituted. So it's not total substitution. It is part of soybean was substituted by moringa, Stinopetella.
Yeah, I was asking what could be reasons for this very good performance, and I was rather thinking of, for example, the high vitamin C content that you have in the moringa leaves, which you don't have in soybean meal, which could have sort of a slight antimicrobial effect. So keeping the hen's health up more efficiently than if you have a total soybean meal-based diet. Yeah, so that in the moringa, there is a lot of more nutrients and also secondary compounds that might enhance the health of the hens and therefore also boost their performance if you do not over spend the contribution, because of course at a certain level then it gets too fibrous and then your performance of poultry goes down. So that would be interesting to look into the secondary compounds and minerals and vitamins that you add with this 8% of moringa.
Yeah, as you said, moringa improved the health status of the chicken, and also it have some antibacterial properties, and also it have a good protein level, and also essential amino acids. So this all contributes, I think, the better productivity of chicken, I think.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Then we move to the next poster on, again, chicken, the growth performance of broilers. And here the substitute now is curcuma powder.
Hello, listeners. My name is Dr. Glory Enyeni, presenting on growth and economic performance of broiler chicken fed turmeric rhizome powder, curcuma longa. This work was carried out at University of Uyo Teaching and Research Farm. As introduction, high population growth has led to increase in demand for meat, and broiler production can resolve this high demand. But broiler production has issue with cost of production. And this cost of production is a result of the high cost of the ingredient that they use for feed formulation, among other things. So high cost of ingredients have led to a search for alternative and organic feed resources. Turmeric rhizome powder is capable of eliciting physiological responses when added to broiler diet. The objectives of this work is to find out the effect of turmeric rhizome powder on growth performance and cost efficiency on high level, as we have discovered that high level of inclusion have not been reported. This work was done with 120 rows, 308 breeds of chicken divided into 4 groups with 3 replicates with 10 beds per replicate. Treatment 1 had no turmeric rhizome powder. Treatment 2 had 200 grams. Treatment 3 had 400 grams. Treatment 4 had 600 grams per 100 kg of feed. The experiment lasted 8 weeks. ANOVA was used to detect significant differences, and Duncan multiple range test further differentiated the means. During the research, we took data on weight, feed efficiency, cost efficiency, and we discovered as a result that treatment 3 with 400 grams turmeric exhibited the highest weight gain, demonstrating the potential of turmeric rhizome powder supplementation at that level of to enhance broiler growth performance. And cost analysis reveals that the cost per kg of weight gain was least in that level of 400 grams. Revenue and gross margin was also highest. However, exceeding that level of 400 grams to 600 grams led to increased production costs without any proportional improvement in weight. In conclusion, therefore, supplementation at level of 400 grams per 100 kg of feed led to improved growth and feed efficiency, reduced production costs, and increased profits. Higher levels had negative economic effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, this is very interesting to see how the substitution or the addition of small plant-based remedies, small amounts of plant-based remedies can increase productivity of chicken. So is anyone having a question for Glory? Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, so thank you, Glory, for your presentation. I have a question on the cost of the curcuma. How cost effective was it, especially because it's a spice, and I know these are quite expensive. So in as much as it does improve feed efficiency, what was the cost implications for the study? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kambuka. It's the cost efficiency was good, as I've told you in the conclusion. And the good thing about turmeric powder is that we can cultivate it in our environment and then use it for the feed formulation. Thank you.
Was that answering the question?
Hello, Kwambuka.
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. It answers the question.
Thank you.
Anyone else has a question? Well, then I'd really also like to know, I mean, these very small amounts of turmeric powder in 100 kg of feed really must be then having effects that come from secondary compounds, I think. So which effects do you see that the curcuma has on the chicken for boosting their performance in that sort of tangible way?
Please, can you take the question again?
I just wanted to know which of those secondary compounds in the curcuma do you think are relevant for this very significant effect on the performance of the broiler, because the 400 grams to add to 100 kilograms is really minimal. So it must be really secondary compounds having very good effects on health probably of the chicken. Which of those compounds do you suspect to be at the basis here?
I did not actually look at the specific compounds. I was just looking at the general effects on their health in comparison of using the synthetic antibiotics. So I just replace it. Instead of giving them the synthetic antibiotics, I use the turmeric, and did not really take time to look at the specific, maybe in the next work, I will have to go into details of that.
Okay, I think it would be good to have really a look into the compounds which are included in the turmeric to target probably their effects on the health of chicken. As replace antibiotics in a good way, so as a sort of preventive addition to decrease diarrhea and other health impediments.
Okay. We are going to do analysis on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so let's now move to the next, again, chicken talk. We are moving now to Ghana, and this is Joshua, who will give us an insight on Marek's disease.
Welcome to our presentation on the topic ex-ante impact of Marek disease mitigation on the economic viability of small-scale intensive layer production in Ghana. My name is Joshua Aboa, and this research is a collaboration between ILRI in Ghana and CSIRO in Australia. My co-author is Dolapo Enahoro from ILRI. Now, a brief background about the research. Marek disease is an important economic disease in Ghana's poultry industry. As such, the prevention of the disease through vaccination is the first listed on Ghana's national vaccination schedule for the poultry sector. However, vaccines are rendered ineffective due to the evolution of the Marek disease. In response to the ineffectiveness of vaccines, three strategies have been espoused in the literature to mitigate the impact of Marek disease. These include the revaccination or double vaccination of DO chicks, the implementation of biosecurity measures, specifically the killing out of infected birds, and the use of genetically highly resistant breeds. Therefore, this research sought to look at the impact of these three mitigation strategies. To achieve the objective, we developed a system dynamics model made up of 4 modules, including an integrated production and epidemiological module, a financial module, a management decision module, and a policy decision module. The model highlighted the growth transition of birds from day-old chicks to spent layers. Also, it highlighted the disease transmission to facilitate the modeling of vaccination and the implementation of biosecurity as mitigation strategies. The model focused on the farm level and ran on a daily time step for 700 days. The impact of the mitigation strategies were compared for 4 producer typologies: those that used either local or imported day-old chicks and practiced a cohort production scheme, and those that used either local or imported day-old chicks and practiced a systematic production scheme. The model was parameterized with a mix of primary and secondary data. The primary data were sourced through focus group discussions and key informant interviews with value chain actors. Now the results. The findings indicate that without Marek's disease, producers rearing local day-old chicks will generally earn higher income than producers rearing imported day-old chicks. However, when there is a Marek's disease outbreak, producers rearing local day-old chicks will be more affected than producers rearing imported day-old chicks. Also, the results showed that the implementation of biosecurity measure is the most cost-effective mitigation strategy. On the other hand, revaccination is only cost-effective when combined with the implementation of biosecurity measures. In conclusion, the take-home message is that farmers do not have to practice revaccination if biosecurity measures are appropriately implemented. Thank you.
Thank you also for this presentation on a bit different topic than the previous poultry talks. Any questions for this presentation by Joshua? Can you please speak up? Speak up. And then Khatpai. First Kwamboka, then Khatpai, please.
Thank you very much for the nice presentation.
Kwamboka also. Kwamboka?
Yes. Okay, I can go first. So I would thank you so much for your presentation. I wanted to know, maybe I missed it, but could you please highlight the biosecurity measures that you said were effective? Thank you.
Joshua, biosafety measures, please. What did you do? Is Joshua not here with us? Joshua, who is talking here? Oh, okay. So Joshua seems not to be with us, unfortunately. So our questions are not answered. Okay, then we have to move on to the next presentation. Maybe what you could do is write Joshua directly via the Google app, and maybe he's seeing that and answering your questions. Or you can look up his contact, hopefully, at his abstract in the book of abstracts online, and then write in your question. Yeah? So we are now moving to Pamela's presentation, which goes back now to ruminants and talks about soil health in rangelands in Mexico. Okay, so this is a PowerPoint. Pamela, do you go through those slides on your own? Pamela?
Hi. I don't have it ready, but if you press like start the presentation, it will start the video.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Fernanda Mejia. I'm a PhD student from Chihuahua, Mexico, and today I'm presenting a holistic approach of soil health in a rangeland in northern Mexico, development of an index. Common threats to soil health in rangelands include cattle grazing and trampling. And in order to achieve sustainability, we should use cattle breeds that are better adapted to their environment. And to do this, there's been a growing interest in the Criollo breed, which has shown to have a different foraging behavior from the Angus. For instance, they explore more the terrain, have a more diverse diet, and weigh less, meaning that they could prevent soil degradation, exert less soil compaction, and preserve the vegetation cover. However, their impact on soil health has not been studied. Therefore, the objective was to develop an index to compare the impact on soil of 3 cattle breeds, namely Criollo, Angus Hereford, and Criollo Angus. The study area is Lajas, which is located in the experimental ranch of Tesiachi. We took 5 samples per cattle breed area, and each breed has 2 areas. We only sampled the south face of the slope in grazing areas, and we did an ANOVA analysis. The selected soil indicators are infiltration, bulk density, aggregate stability, pH, electrical conductivity, and we did a visual evaluation of soil structure with an adapted method. And in order to obtain the soil quality index, we use scoring functions of more is better, less is better, and optimum in order to have each indicator in a scale between 0 and 1. So after 4 years, the impact of trampling and grazing on most soil health indicators and index is not different among cattle breeds. Only the infiltration was significantly different between the crossbreed and the Angus Hereford. We find plant structure in all areas, which evidences a degradation in soil structure, and this could have implication on soil functions. With these results, and although the literature demonstrates that the Criollo has a different foraging behavior from Angus breeds in the short term, these differences are not evident in the selected soil indicators and overall soil health. Therefore, a long-term monitoring is needed to determine whether the Criollo has a lesser impact on soil health. And with this, I finish my presentation, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Again, here we have the possibility to ask questions because you are here with us, Pamela. Who would like to ask a question to Pamela? Maybe then I can have one. you hypothesize that because of different grazing behavior of the Criollo versus the crossbreed and the Angus, you would have an impact on soil health indicators. Now, as an animal nutritionist, I would argue that the feeding behavior does not affect soils in the first place, over time maybe, but really long time. You have a shift in species composition, and with this also then in the carbon content of the soil, because different plants have different rootstocks and so on. But with a short-term monitoring, I would not expect that you detect changes, and whatever you can detect is the effect of trampling, which of course is a factor influenced by the animal's life weight. Can you comment on my comment?
Yeah, so are you, I don't know if I understood, but you're saying that the impact on soil is also influenced by the weight?
Yes, and because you did only a short-term study, it is much more the weight of the animals than their choice of different types of feed, because the choice of different types of feed over time will lead to a change in species composition and then above and below ground biomass. But in a short-term experiment, it's especially the trampling effect, the weight that is transmitted via the hooves that impacts the soil.
Yeah, but have like proportional weights in each paddock, so that's the same factor. So we will expect that the differences are based on the foraging behavior, but also these differences are mainly during dry season. So during when the grasses, the biomass is a lot in the area, they show like the same behavior. So also that's when the soil is weaker, so we have more impact during that time of the year. So probably we won't see any difference. I hope it's not the case.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So you are continuing that study?
Yeah, it's a long-term monitoring, but we are collecting results since now.
Okay. So I hope that over time you will find more significant changes to support your hypothesis.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Let's
you.
now move to the last presentation by Marceline on cattle coring strategies in northern Benin.
Dear auditor, I'm Marcelin Atakon, and together with my co-authors, I'm presenting on cattle crawling strategy for soil management in northern Benin. Agriculture in northern Benin is facing many challenges, including soil fertility degradation. And one of traditional strategy to manage soil fertility in northern Benin is named cattle crawling, which consists in confining livestock on farmland before farming. This study try to characterize these practices in northern Benin for its sustainable management. To achieve that objective, 392 households have been surveyed, and data has been collected on demographic and socio-economic characteristics of households, farm characteristics, production method, production objective, cattle crawling practices, and the data have been analyzed using our software. The results show that cattle crawling is widely known in northern Benin, even though it's not adopted by everyone. And it has been practiced each year, and 55 number of cattle is perceived as sufficient to corral 1 hectare within 3 weeks. We identified, the results show that water availability, forage availability, cattle ownership, and security are the major constraints of cattle crawling practices in northern Benin. And the typology highlights that three major groups of cattle crawling can be perceived in northern Benin. The first one is named continuous overnight rotational cattle crawling. The second one is named discontinued overnight rotational cattle crawling, and third one is named cattle crawling contracts. And the result from binary logistic regression show that the socio-cultural variable like agroecological zone, educational level, ethnicity, membership of rural organization, access to the credits, distant fuel count, production objective are the major variable affecting the adoption of cattle crawling in northern Benin. In conclusion, the typology the draw from this study suggests that trawler strategy can be effectively address the unique challenge faced by different farming communities. And from the determinant observed within this study, targeted intervention can be designed to promote the widespread adoption of cattle crawling in northern Benin. And by addressing the identified constraint, cattle crawling can be optimized and leading to more sustainable agricultural system and improve livelihood for farmers in northern Benin. Thank you for your kind.
Thank you very much for this contribution as well. So again, we're talking about soil health and cattle management, or corralling in this case. Marceline, you are around. Are you with us to answer questions? Yeah. So yes, you are here. So does anyone have a question to this presentation? No, then I just, yeah, right.
Thank you very much for the contribution. And I just want to ask, what is the cattle corralling? Just for, maybe I haven't heard very well in the beginning.
Yeah, thank you. Cattle crawling is the fact that farmer intentionally before farming, generally before raining season, confine enormous of cattle on their cropland. The idea is to increase soil fertility. So this is one of traditional soil fertility management strategy in northern Benin, particularly in Saharan Africa zones.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to know, you talked about different frequencies of corralling every year, every second year, every third year. Did you also look at how long are the cattle on a spot? So are they on a hectare of land, for example, for a week or 2 weeks or for only 2 days? Did you look into this as well?
Yeah, these aspects also was captured, and I also said in the presentation, the average time that we found in the study area is a 3 weeks period to corral all 1 hectare of cropland using in average 55 heads of cattle. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting work. So I think we've come to the end of our session. Thank you all for contributing. I think we have seen two quite interesting parts, one on ruminant management, especially with relation to soil health, but also with relation to animal health and methane emissions. And then we have looked also into the feeding of chicken with interesting substitutes for conventional soybean-based diets, namely the insects and the leaf meals and even spices. And I think it was, at least for me, a very enriching session. I will reach out to some of you because I want to know a bit more. So don't be astonished if you get an email from me within the next 10-15 days. Thank you all for being here, for contributing with your presentations and to the discussion with your questions and answers. I wish you a good day and hope that you participate in the hybrid sessions as well.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much.
guidance.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.